Yeah, my bad. I got like a wired connection, so I had to like set up this I had to plug everything up. I don't like doing it wirelessly because I want to avoid like skipping and lag time. Now, as always, we talk finances and attorney reactions, and I'm gonna give a reaction to hey I'm gonna give a reaction to this video of Tyreek Hill. Now I will tell you, hey man, I could do an Ocho Cinco because hey, this DFD's show over here. It's like, shout out to my guy Wolverine with the first comment of the day. Now, I will tell you, I haven't watched this video. I actually purposely tried to avoid like watching any videos or reading any articles about it. I just, saw thumbnails on YouTube. I seen articles go across my timeline on social, but I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna just watch and react to it. Now, before I go in on this video, I am going to give a little bit of a disclaimer. I personally think that I understand high stress situations more than most attorneys. So, as a defense attorney, I would see, if I had a case where an individual was pulled over for whatever, it was nighttime, he had like 5% tint on his windows, cops couldn't see in his car. I understood the high pressure, the high risk, the anxiety that goes along with a stop like that. One, because I was deployed to a war zone. I had to clear houses before. I had to interact with persons who were actually trying to delete me. So, in light of that, I kind of have an understanding, and I'm reasonable. I'm reasonable as to when I see facts, and I'm like, bro, that's a dangerous situation for the officer. So I feel like I'm relatively reasonable in this. So let's go ahead, cue up this video. We're gonna jump right into it. It ain't no sound. That must be the video. And it's common practice for them to release body cam footage after 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever their policy is. All right, balling ass car. That's point number one. Now I'm assuming that he got stopped for a few things. More likely than that, speeding, if they're being petty, seatbelt. But a car like that, I'm assuming they pulling these guys over for speeding. Depending on how fast they were going, they may say reckless driving. I think, depending on the state, some states reckless driving is 20 miles over. But I'm assuming this is a regular stop for speeding. Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Or what? Why you have it up? All right, real quick. You can generally say anything that you want to, but this interaction is actually starting off on the wrong foot. It's starting off on the wrong foot. And hey, candor, I'm gonna keep it 100. It started on the wrong foot for our guy Tyreek Hill. The guy said, "Why don't you have your seatbelt on?" Which, I mean, you're driving a fucking vehicle. You're supposed to have your seatbelt on. And his reaction is, he said, Why you knocking on my window like that?" He already got an attitude. So clearly, the fact that he ended up on a pavement from all the thumbnails I see, I can see how this is probably going to escalate. And also note that when he's walking up to the vehicle, the window is already down. The window is already down. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but that is a detailed fact. Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Or what? Why you have it up? Hey. All right. One, he already like, don't knock on my window like that. I'll just keep it a buck. I seen the officer come up and not. It didn't look like he was trying to break his damn window, but the window was down when the officer approached. Again, just hey, gotta keep it a buck here. It is what it is. The window being down is probably one of the smarter things you can do. You can have a tint on your car. It makes it hard to see in your vehicle. If it's a nice day out, most people will actually advise you, if you're pulled over by a police officer, roll your windows down, keep your hands on the steering wheel, because what that does is create a clear line of visibility in the car. They can't see if you're reaching for anything. When you got tint on a car, it makes it more difficult. The fact that he actually had his window down when the officer came up, he should have just left it down. Even though he started out being a smart ass, in my opinion, Tyreek started out being a smart ass. His window was down. The officer was able to communicate. More importantly, the officer was able to see. He couldn't use a line of "I'm not able to see inside the vehicle, so I had to break it" or something like that.
Keep your window down.
All right, now at this point, officer, I don't know, let's just call him officer friendly. You can see he kind of pissed off because, like, bro, you had the window down and now you're rolling the window up. So the question is going to be, if you're stopped by law enforcement, are you legally required to roll your window down? And it's going to be interesting because the answer is legal requirement versus what's this best practice to do. There's no express case out there that says, hey, you have to roll your window down. However, there is guidance that states you have to be able to provide the officer with identifying information. So providing the officer with identifying information, it don't mean you're gonna take your ID and smash it up against the glass or read it to them and show them a screenshot or something. No, you have to physically able to be able to provide it. So generally, the general rule is, although you aren't legally required to do so, you have an obligation to provide identification, the authorization to actually own the vehicle, the authorization to operate the vehicle on the highways and roads. With that in mind, you have to be able to hand them it. So the general rule that I always use is you don't have to roll it all the way down, but it makes sense to crack it so that you can actually hand the documentation over. And that's twofold. One, if the window's cracked, you can actually have an open line of communication without it being any obstruction or anything like that. But two, now you're in a point where you can comply with physically handing the requirement documents that you are required to provide by law if asked by the officer. Now, at this point, you can see the officer is clearly pissed. I haven't watched this, but they did not run his tags before the stop. Generally, they do run the tags before the stop. That's why it's a little bit different because these guys are on a motorcycle. That's actually a good point. It's a little bit different because these guys are on a motorcycle. But normally when you get pulled over, y'all all been pulled over by a cop. I've been pulled over a gazillion times, and don't do what I do when I get pulled over. That's a whole nother story. Because I'm an asshole. But generally when officers pull you over, you're parked in the car, they're sitting in their car, and a certain amount of time is going to lapse. Most times when that time is lapsing, officers are doing one thing. They're running your license through the system to see who that car is assigned to. When they see who that car is assigned to, they can see if, hey, the person who this license plate is registered to, is it a person who has any outstanding warrants? It is any person who has any type of thing that could escalate this minor traffic stop into something more serious. And that kind of gives the officers an idea of how cautious or how on alert should we be as we're doing this stop. So that's a little bit different because these guys are on motorcycles. So I don't know what was communicated to look at the license plates and to do things, to look at the license plate. The other thing we got to talk about is from a legal standpoint. Let's just tackle this while we're right here before I forget it. I guess the question would be, how long, because being stopped by a law enforcement officer does trigger all of your constitutional rights. But courts have not expressly stated that a traffic stop for a citation is limited to this particular amount of time: 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. What courts have said is once you get your citation, that's the end of the interaction. It should be ended at that point. People are free to go. Most times they kind of use a reasonableness standard. If I'm being stopped and the only citation I got was a citation for speeding 7 miles over the limit, it's probably unreasonable if my traffic stop lasted 45 minutes. I got out the car, I'm put on the hot ass pavement. But that is kind of how the length of the stop is looked at in the eyes of the law. Any odor of alcohol or marijuana can better be detected. That's true too, but I was always iffy. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with y'all. I've been in DUI court and represented people in traffic court for a couple of years, and every officer is trained to say I smelled the odor of marijuana insinuating from the vehicle. Strong odor of marijuana. I literally seen that in everything. So I yes, that's a a tale that they use to actually be able to have a justification to probably search your vehicle. But I don't know. But typically, when I see strong odor of marijuana or alcohol, I always look at that shit sketchy because officers are trained to put that in there off the break. Thus far, Tyreek is an arrogant a-hole. However, DFD, keep going. I appreciate your schooling. I agree with that synopsis. I agree with that synopsis, Pamela, that so far he's being an entitled prick who's in a super expensive car.
Hey.
Oh, but the point is, I don't know because they're on motorcycles if they actually ran the license plate. They could have called it in and been following them for a while and maybe know that it's him. But it's quite possible that they saw this guy speed and it was like, oh, let's pull over this dude.
Keep your window down. Keep your window down.
He should leave it right there. Right there, he good.
I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. Break that freaking.
All right, now the next legal question we got here is, yo, tell us no such thing, right? I agree. Is the next question we got here is, can he ask him to exit the vehicle? Now, this is interesting because it all depends on how savvy the officer is. Most officers get training from an attorney who's probably been doing it for longer than me, and they're like, hey, these are the things you have to ask to get where you want to go with the search. So the question is, can he ask him to exit the vehicle? Yes, he can ask him to exit the vehicle. Most times in this situation, if I were the officer or I was advising the officer, I would say you need to assert safety as the reason why you want to get him out of the vehicle. The windows were down, then he rolled them up. And I think the facts, I'm going to just keep it a buck, supported. The window was down at the stop, then he rolled them up. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't see if somebody else was in the vehicle. If it's somebody else in the vehicle, even worse. But the windows were down, then he rolled them up, then he cracked them again. The windows look like they got some tint on it. I can't really see what's going on inside of the vehicle. So for my safety, I want to get this guy out of the vehicle. I don't know if he's reaching. He's already having a little bit of an attitude. He's already rolling the window up. I don't know what's going on. So far, I think the officer is on point. I think he's good with what he has going on so far.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Now, that's a stupid thing, too, because I've seen officers break the window and do all sorts of things. Get out of the car. You wanted to mouth off and try to move to escalate the situation. Now it's escalated. Let's see if he keeps that same let's see if he keeps that same energy as we go forward in this process.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. What part of blood do you understand?
Hey, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Them grabbing him by the cuff in the back of his head to yank him out the vehicle. He didn't look like he was moving to me. If the officer said, hey, get out of the vehicle, I'm gonna be like, hands up. I'm gonna be like, okay, officer, I'm reaching for the vehicle I'm reaching for the door handle with my left hand to open it. He didn't look like he opened the door and he was just sitting in the vehicle chilling. I don't think I seen any overt effort for him to really move or put a leg out until he was grabbed. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Oh no, he moving, but he moving slow. Again, even though he's moving slow. I think so far, so good. Everything is justified. Tint, rolling the window up, keeping it cracked, can't really see in. We're talking about safety. I need to be able to see this guy's hands. The sooner I can get him out of the vehicle and on the ground, the sooner I know that he doesn't have anything on him that could potentially harm me or escalate the situation. And hey, I'm a defense attorney. I would love to see them. I'm a former defense attorney. I got my roots as a defense attorney. When they fuck up, I'm going to call it.
Get out. Get out. What part of blood do you understand? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
I'm getting
You're a little
out.
confused. I'm getting out.
Hey, I don't keep it a buck with y'all. I know people in the comments gonna be like, "Oh, DFD, you a sellout. This may be a little bit too far," but I'm just keeping it a buck. Hey, his conduct brought this action on from the start. So far, in my opinion, that's what I think. I think his conduct brought this action on. You can tell by his voice he's not pulling up out of the car because of his safety. He's pissed. Nah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a valid argument. I mean, he's probably scared that the cop is pissed. That's fair too. But if I approach the vehicle and you roll up the vehicle, yeah, you got to look at this from an objective standpoint. All right. You got to look at this from an objective standpoint. Like, is a possibility that at any given time, at any given traffic stop, some shit that you think is light will allow you not to come home at night. So looking from it a standpoint is that if I come up to your vehicle, your shit is tinted, you already mouthing off, you roll the window up, then you crack it, and I'm like, no, because of how you conducted yourself, I'm treating you the exact same way. I am pissed. I'm pissed because you're pretty much escalating this situation. You got tints on your window, you crack your window from it being fully. Why would, if your window's already down, why would you roll it up if the officer didn't do anything at that point to give an explanation that he's acting in an overly aggressive manner? So, as an officer, my thought, as someone who's been in a war zone, who had to search houses and stop vehicles, hey, the fact that your window was down and you rolled it up and you got tint and now you obstructed my visibility, yeah, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because I don't know what you got going on. I don't know why you've done all that. So yeah, the officer's pissed, and I think the officer's pissed. Why he's pissed, we can argue over it, but I don't think he's pissed because of what he said. I think he's more pissed of his actions. You caused me to have to escalate this situation more than what I probably wanted to. And I think he is. I think he is scared now, but yeah, the reason he's scared is because the officer's pissed. And the reason the officer's pissed, in my opinion, of watching this video is because you made this situation a lot more difficult than what it needed to be. And now I'm in a position where I don't have a clear view of what's in the vehicle. You went from having it all the way down to rolling it up partially. Why would you do that? But for any reason to, like, I mean, let's just keep it a buck. If I am a criminal and I am a bad guy and I do want to get the jump on the officers and my windows are all the way down, I'm probably going to roll my windows up if I know my windows are tinted to see if I can have an opportunity to, I want to see if I have a counter ambush opportunity. That's just what it is. So, that's kind of my thought. Yeah, the law doesn't say your window doesn't need to be all the way down. People have rights, and the cops are power tripping, in my opinion. He the one who rolled the window up. His window was down already. Like, I don't know. We can agree to disagree, but so far I don't think I see anything. And again, I've done this from both sides. Trust me, I've written and drafted body-worn camera policies for law enforcement agencies, and I've been in situations where I defended people in these cases. So far, I don't see anything that I would look at and say, okay, this is kind of excessive.
Oh, bro, too late. All right, bro, take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro. We will. Good, bro. It is good. Hey, don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying, bro. Y'all, come over. Good, bro. You beating on my window like you crazy. You set them up. Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for?
I don't know. I saw the video. We may run it back a little bit just to see the beginning, but I didn't see the officers knocking on his window. Trust me, I know what a hard knock sounds like. I didn't get any inclination from that from the beginning of the video. As a previous Detroit police commissioner investigating citizen complaint, thus far, the officers would be exonerated. Thank you. All we ask for is a little bit of objectivity. I'm just keep it a buck. Let's be honest, man. We can't always. I know they pulled up like a motorcycle gang, but we got to get out of this. Because the officers used a little bit of force, it was too much. And like, no. Part of the name of the game is you cannot make your situation actually worse. And I think he took steps to make his situations worse. And I think he took steps where it's really reasonable for the officers to have some objective threat or some objective concern for their safety. That's just me personally. But I agree with you 100%.
Damn, yo, bro. Oh, no, bro. Yo, bro, dude beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin.
Hold on. Let's pause it real quick. We at the 210 mark. I wanna we at the 210 mark. We're gonna go right back there. I want to see how he actually approached this guy's window. Maybe I'm missing something. As quiet as it kept, as long as he didn't break the damn window, there's nothing wrong with how he knocked on it, in my opinion. But I just want to see what the hell is he talking about. Because the window looked like it down. And I'm assuming he talking about he knocked on the window. Yeah, he knocked on if he knocked on the window after you rolled it up from it being down. Yeah, that was a light knock. Like, bro, that initial knock was light. So the only thing he could possibly be bitching about is maybe the subsequent knock after he rolled the window back up.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
He being an asshole. Okay, we're gonna go back to the 210 mark because now he like don't knock on my window like that. I'm like, bro, he knocked on your window like he knocked on your window how I would knock on your window if you were in the car asleep and I wanted to make sure you weren't dead. I mean, I don't think it was anything outside.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there.
Hey.
Hold on, real quick. The cops were too quick with their actions. Let's take Tyreek Hill out of this situation. Let's say Tyreek was Devontae Ronaldo Pookie Jackson, right? That was his alias. And your son or your loved one or your husband or your spouse or your significant other were the police officers who approached the vehicle. The vehicle got 10 on it. This guy's already, you make a stop. When you initially come and knock on the vehicle, he rolls the window all the way down. Then after you initiate conversation, he rolls the window up. I don't know about y'all. I can't, I can't relate. As somebody who's been in a high pressure situation where it's life or death, and I had to stop somebody, detain somebody, and make sure they weren't trying to shoot me. All of that shit is absolutely, they didn't act to. How long do you actually expect them to have to wait? Trust me, you know how long it takes for someone to make a counter ambush opportunity? Not a long time. That's just my opinion and take on it. All right, let's go and finish up.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee.
I just had surgery on my knee. Now you talk about the surgery on your knee. Like, nah, I want you. This is just me. Hey, y'all can say I sound overly law enforcement, but I'm calling it like I see it. I'm gonna call it down the middle. Like, bro, let me rewind it back for that.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery.
It looked like they asked him to sit down, and he just taking his time. Yeah, they're trying to get him down to have a seat, and he like, hold on, bro.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery in your ears when we got there.
Did y'all heard what the officer said? Yeah, did you have surgery on your ear when we told you to put the window down? I'm sorry, that was actually hilarious though. But I mean, so far, let me see, because I'm trying to see if this was. It looked like they're telling them to sit down and they're trying to guide them down without too much force. Right here, hand down, one hand on the wrist, one hand on the shoulder. I know that's routine practice. They trying to kind of guide them down, like have a seat. I'm sure at some point they said have a seat here. Yeah, I think I just heard them say have a seat.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery in your ears when we got there. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Hey, don't do, bro.
Back up.
Hey, call Drew. Hey.
He yelling call Drew, so I'm assuming Drew is probably his agent. I'm thinking his agent or his lawyer. Drew Rosenhaus is probably his agent. He like, don't hurt my ass. I need my money. I agree. I think he's saying Drew. Who is his agent? Is Drew Rosenhaus his agent? Drew Rosenhaus used to be TO agent back in the day. Yeah. Yeah. So he's saying call Drew. And I think I heard him say something about Drew, I'm getting arrested. So yeah, Jay talking about Drew Rosenhaus. All right. Yeah, I just looked it up. Shout out. Appreciate that, Louis. But yeah, yeah, he's talking about Drew Rosenhaus, his agent. Drew Rosenhaus got to be 1,000 now.
Call Drew. Call Drew, bro. Call
His voice cracked. He sounded like Meek Mills at WrestleMania.
Drew. Call Drew, bro. Call Drew.
Call Drew,
bro. Call Drew. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing nothing. What am I doing that's wrong?
All right. So that looked like a really nice SUV. So I'm assuming those are probably people who with them or riding to the game with them. I don't know, teammates, his homeboys, something like that. Y'all let me know in the comments. Cops are public servants. They need to serve with less attitude, in my opinion. I mean, I get it. I get it, and I generally agree with that statement. But I don't think the person who elevated this situation, the person who escalated this situation, in my opinion, wasn't the officers. I think that's obvious.
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, they got Tyreek, the cops over here beating on him, man. They over.
Yeah, that dude, yeah. They gassing it up, the cops beating him. So now let's think about what you got here, okay? We all focused on how they're handling Tyreek Hill, who appears just completely uncooperative, and to me had the initial conduct that escalated all this. Now you got a vehicle in front with one guy in the car, another guy on his phone. I'm assuming it's probably 10. Let me run it back. But I'm assuming it's 10. Yeah, it's 10 on that car too. You don't know how many people are in this car. So y'all got to just stop thinking about it from the point of Tyreek, poor multi-millionaire. This guy's a black guy being done wrong. So now you got another car that's stopped in front of him. There's tints in the windows. One guy getting out, another guy on his phone. We don't know who else is in there. The officers probably can't see who else is in there. And now that's another situation that they got to say, okay, we got to make sure that nobody in this vehicle is doing anything that's escalating the situation or actually putting our life at risk by trying to do something that's potentially dangerous. There's a lot of pieces to this aside from just what uncooperative Tyreek Hill was looking
Listen,
for.
big man, don't park there, man. Just get in the car.
Drew, you gotta come, man.
Just get in the car.
I agree. That's the right call. Get in the car. Don't park here. Move down the road. I don't want you in close proximity to while I'm doing this stop because I don't know what you got, who's in the car with you. So far, so good, in my personal opinion. Okay, we got a new team now.
Right on the side of the
Hey, get in the car. You're parked in the middle of the street.
I'm in the car. You gotta go before you get.
Like this dude pulled over in the middle of traffic on the phone, didn't pull over nowhere reasonable. I get it, that's your homeboy. But the officer's like, bro, you parked in the middle of the street, stopping here. We don't know what y'all got going on. And his window tint dark as shit. It ain't no way. I'm not a window tint expert, but that's not the legal 20%. That shit look like some limo 5% tint. So you clearly can't even see who in that vehicle.
Hey, I'm not the car.
Who's the driver? This is my car. All right, move. You gotta move right now.
Let me have your license. You're gonna take it too.
I'm coming.
Let me have your license. You're gonna take it. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your license. Your license right now. Your license right now. You're not gonna give me your license?
Hey,
the car.
What the hell? Okay, I didn't even know it was a second part to this. But bro, you said you're leaving right now, but you're not moving. The officer actually said, yo, go ahead, get in your car and pull off. I get it. He may want to stay there and record his boy. At least pull out your license. Now, this is the thing. Everybody want the officers to have more patience in how they act, but nobody, I don't, maybe it's just me. When the officer's giving you simple instructions like identify yourself, no one wants to comply. Everybody wants to take their damn time. Y'all can't have it both ways. Like, no, y'all want the officers to be patient, But these people have all the patience in the world, and they could take their time. Like, come on now, all I want is a little bit of consistency and fairness. If something is wrong, I'm gonna call it. But y'all can't have it both ways. The officers are impatient, but these guys aren't doing absolutely nothing that the officers say. Literally, it's crazy.
You're not gonna give me your license?
I'm leaving.
Let me have your license. Your license right now.
Sir,
Hey, your license.
Fair level of fear there. I get that. You saying you leaving at this point is ridiculous. The guy's asking for your license. Now, again, why is he yelling? I know the officer should have more compassion. Fuck all that. You see how big this dude is? That dude, what is he? Probably a fucking offensive lineman or some shit. That's a big dude. I know. I got a buddy, homeboy, who was an all-pro offensive lineman. They some big-ass guys. Like, how much patience? Like, this guy can really grab this officer and slam his head through that window, which is a full, real, legitimate possibility. Like, I don't know. Like, we got to be realistic about what's going on here. Y'all probably saying I'm working for the ops. y'all probably saying I'm working for the ops, but I agree. These are grown ass men. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Was that 4 motorcycle cops? Yeah, they was rolling through like a gag. As long as he's not obstructing, he's legally allowed to be there. Is he? Is he? Because I think that actually meets the definition of obstructing. Obstructing is generally the different depending on what state you're looking at, but stateside practice said is you're doing something to impede a law enforcement investigation. This is completely obstruction. This is obstruction. This is actually creating a public danger, pulling your vehicle over on the side of the road. But I think it clearly meets the definition of obstructive. You're impeding their investigation that they were doing on Tyreek Hill. Obstruction met. So I think as long as it's not obstruction, I think that's obstruction. And I mean, hey, I think, yeah, I'm not giving you my ID unless I committed a crime. Generally, that's the general rule. But now the argument is that you have committed a crime by you stopping here, you getting out, filming this, you're essentially obstructing that investigation that we had going on with this guy. So technically, I think they are in the right to ask for their identification. That's what they're doing. You're not allowed to do that, but yes, the tent not knowing who's in the back seat with, I think that's just a legitimate concern. Most Black mothers have to talk with our kids about how to respond when they are in contact with the cops. I tell y'all all the time, and I've said a couple times on this video, I can check out a friend. Yeah, I agree. I don't have to. Checking on my friend is not a crime. You call it checking on your friend. I'm going to say it's obstructing an investigation, which most judges will be like, you were obstructing an investigation. You were obstructing the investigation, especially the point where he gave you an opportunity to leave. And now he's asking for your ID. And I get it. There's some level of fear there, but there has to be some deference for an officer to do their job and also maintain a certain level of safety. If all these weren't fucking NFL guys and they got out of the car and they all had dreads and they looked like they were with Zopound, everybody would be like, oh man, like, yeah, you didn't know. But nah, because these are athletes, everybody is looking at it with a different eye, in my personal opinion. I think. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Yeah. They're putting themselves in a situation for a crazy fan to ambush them because they ignored the jackass attitude and just wrote out a ticket. They could have. That would have been the route to go, especially if they were able to identify who the vehicle was registered to beforehand. Like, they could have de-escalated the situation, but because they were on a motorcycle, I don't know if they called it in, so I don't know. You're legally allowed to film a public officer in a public space. That's fair, but there's a line of reasonableness, and when does it go from observation and recording to actually obstructing the investigation that's going on, and as a matter of safety? Even if you're allowed to record, officers have the right to secure the perimeter. They'll put the tape up, they'll put the barriers up and do all of that stuff. If you're crossing that barrier, right now there's not a barrier set, but there's an imaginary barrier set. So, I mean, for everything you say, there's going to be a counter argument that leans in the officers, but I just would have took the ticket. That leans in the officer's favor, in my opinion.
License right now, or I'm gonna lock you up. Your license right now.
He just told me to
Your license right now. You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
Is that so fucking hard?
We're not-
Now you want to talk about what the let's just get, now you talk about the other officers said I could leave. Like, bro, they both said you could leave immediately, and you stayed there to get on your phone and have your boy with his leg out recording. Y'all could have literally, they could have literally like, hey, I'm gonna get out the car and record. You go roll. There's other ways that this could have done. I do agree that it was escalated on both sides, but most of the deference, just how I'm looking at this objectively, is going in favors of the officer.
Playing this game here, man.
What's man go, man? My license in my bag. Let me get
All right, go get your license.
Get my bag.
Close that door.
The guy in the passenger seat right now, he's the only person who listened the first time somebody requested him to do something, and he let the officer close the door. He was literally the only one who actually listened. I'm gonna be honest. I probably wouldn't, if I were the officer, I probably wouldn't want anyone in that vehicle. I would be like, okay, well, since you all pulled over, y'all gonna pull over. Y'all get out and go stand over here. I would have had, because there's multiple officers in the multiple officers on motorcycles. I would have one officer stand over there with them so that I can observe them, because me personally, I think it's more dangerous with that guy in the vehicle. Now you can't see his hands. This guy's going into his bag. You can't see. They probably know. There's a chance that they know that, Tyreek Hill is an NFL receiver. These other guys, they probably have no clue who the hell these other guys are. I mean, that's just my thoughts. But I think this is actually riskier. If it was me, if you didn't pull off or you didn't give me your license immediately, I would be like, okay, well, you all stopped. You all free to observe, but I'm gonna ask y'all for my safety. Y'all can get out of the vehicle. Y'all vehicle got tent. Y'all have staff fast over there. Y'all can record, call who y'all need to record. Have one officer babysit them while they can go tend to the original situation. That's what I would have done. That's a fair point.
Yo, Drew.
Let me stand them up so I can take off this.
I'm going home. Send me up. I'm going home, bro.
Come over here. Don't.
Real quick, I don't disagree with your general definition. Obstruction is a physical coming in between the police officer or maintaining obstacle from an investigation. I don't generally disagree with your investigation, but I've seen cases where this would meet the muster in court to satisfy obstruction. It is what it is. You can say what the definition is. Legal definitions get argued over all the time. That's the whole reason there's a prosecution and a defense. I mean, I'm not disagreeing, Justin, with your definition. All I'm saying is the defense attorney is going to say this doesn't qualify as obstruction because we were distance away. They're going to say all of those points, and the prosecution is going to say this qualifies as obstruction because we were trying to initiate an investigation. These guys, although they were a distance away, they were outside of their vehicle, they were heavily tinted. I've been in cases where this met the criteria and people actually were convicted of obstruction for situations like this. I've been in situations like this as a defense attorney where no obstruction was found. I've been in situations where obstruction were found on similar facts that are pretty much analogous to this. It depends on who the judge is, who the jury is. So the definition is irrelevant. It's all about what the argument is. And I think you would find a lot of people who would lean towards the safety argument. You may find some, and there's a 50-50 toss-up, but that's the risk you run. You know what I mean? 20 yards away, he wasn't a threat. It's not whether he was a threat if we're talking about obstruction. We're talking about, is he impeding the initial investigation? Let me see. Officer did not have to act aggressive unless he was being pressed. Fair point. I don't know a bunch of football players a block away from a stadium. I think it's safe to say they are going to work. Okay. Still, you see those officers compared to those guys? Yeah, they was going these big ass dudes who could probably bench press 350 pounds, 25 pounds is. I mean, hey, I would be the bearer of bad news for y'all. Yeah, these dudes were going to work. Everybody had a situation where they over escalated, but nothing that these officers did, in my opinion, are going to be like, hey, these guys are going to get a big settlement for what was done from anything we've saw at this point. Yeah, I agree. They were impeded due to they were impeding due to the officers were pulled over. Fair, fair. Officers can look at the car and tell they got money. I know. But now he's saying, oh, they got car, they got money. What the officers looked at the car and was like, oh, these are some dope boys. You can make all types of assumptions. The type of car is of no consequence to me. The cops absolutely knew the athletes were going through. The cops already had an attitude also. I agree he had an attitude also, but I don't think the officers had the initial attitude. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, nope, law is law. I think the second officer sort of escalated the situation. I agree with that. I agree with that. He was wrong for rolling his window up while the officer was trying to speak with him. Cops were wrong for manhandling. That's fair. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that's fair. I think there's an argument when they tossed him on the curb, like, and I'll be honest, as far as manhandling come, that's light work. That is that the way they put him on the ground in that instant. I mean, honestly, that's relatively people being handled with kids' glove. I had a case where a guy was a senior in college. He got pulled over and they threw him chest down on the pavement in the middle of July in hot ass southern state where he got blisters and shit burning on his damn skin. So, I mean, all of this that you all think is overly aggressive is not aggressive at all. I haven't seen anything that were overly aggressive. Maybe right here when we get to this situation, possibly, but y'all definition of overly aggressive and my definition of overly aggressive are two completely different definitions.
Fall off the second.
No, bro. Then this dude here. Man, I'm already rich. I don't even. Come on, bro.
Open your legs.
You see what he said? Open your legs.
Just let them lean forward a little.
Just go with the ring. Just go with it. You right. Almost over. You right. Appreciate it. Hey,
Hold on, man.
thank you.
Hold on.
Right. Appreciate it, bro.
Hold on.
Thank you. Okay. Nah, I'm not, bro. I'm finna go home, bro. These guys. For a second. Go pictures. Okay. Take a picture of that officer too. It will be. That's all I need. That's all I need. Thank you. Do me a favor, just let me get it. Hold on. Let me talk to my mom real quick.
Ain't nothing gonna happen to those officers. Sorry, Nat. Sorry. Sorry, Nat. Sorry. If you were trying to prevent an officer from arresting Tyreek, okay, I would understand. It doesn't necessarily have to be you physically trying to prevent him. I'm just saying. I can only speak from my experience of doing this for 14 years and having a shitload of trials where people were charged with obstruction and all sorts of stuff. I've seen it cut both ways. I agree with Justin's definition. They knew it was Tyreek. Okay, they knew it was Tyreek. It's not against the law to record police. I agree. I don't disagree with that statement. I just said that there's an argument on both sides that could be. Is an argument for, hey, you all were obstructing us from trying to, impeding us from trying to do this investigation we had got going on. That's the whole nature of what this law thing is. There's going to be arguments made on both sides, and some judge or some jury is going to make a decision on who they believe more. But the bottom line is, none of those nothing's going to happen to those officers. It is what it is. I don't think anything reached a level where it was extremely over the top. He does not have to speak to you, get my lawyer, case closed, investigation over. Fair. Cops should not put his hands on any bystanders. I generally agree with that. But at what point? There is a point where a bystander can transition from a normal observer to someone who could elevate and escalate the situation? And at what point do you get that under control? For example, if officers have just conducted. This is an example I could see that happened around the way. I was walking my dog one day, and I saw helicopters flying, and I was like, "Yo, why the fuck?" I was like, "These helicopters walking mad close." I was on the phone. Somebody was like, "Oh, you should probably get to the crib," and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I think they going the other way." I walk around as I'm walking back to my house. I see lights everywhere, and I'm like, "Damn!" I'm like, "Are they at my house?" No, they were actually at my neighbor's house. Now, what happened was it was some knucklehead who probably did some. If you are involved in the police chase, I don't give a fuck whether the reason was justified or not. For the stop, you doing knucklehead shit. It was some guy who was on like a high speed chase, and as he's driving, he tried to turn down the street, missed. My neighbor's house is on the end. He clipped my neighbor's fence, got out of the vehicle because the vehicle was fucked up. I mean, he hit their fence, tore the damn pole down, got out, ran in their yard. Cops tackled this guy. Now, I'm walking up the street. I see all this. I see people out on their phones and everything. Immediately, hey, my neighbor's cool, but they old as hell. So I called them. I was like, yo, y'all good? Because I see all the lights. I was like, they're like, oh, yeah, we good. And so, I'm, hey, y'all next to my house. So I'm sitting in my yard and I'm talking to another neighbor and we just kind of talk about what's going. And there's a bunch of people around, right? And people got their cameras out. And I actually saw as I was walking up, one guy was talking about it, and I was like, "Yo, is he somebody to you?" And he was like, "Oh, that's my cousin or uncle or some shit." I expressly told him, I was like, "Yo, you may want to make sure you have your camera out, record it, just so everything is good, right?" Literally, I told the guy that. So some people are recording. Now you got some people who are bystanders who are just watching, but then you got some people like a woman who's like over the top. They putting the tape on. She like she wilding out. She trying to go under the tape. At some point, she's not just a person observing the situation. She got to the point where, like, okay, now we actually have to have law enforcement come and interact with you because you on some crazy shit. So people can, whatever your role is when a situation starts, isn't what your role is when a situation ends. You can transition from a bystander to a victim. You can transition from a bystander to a defendant or an accused. I mean, so where you start isn't necessarily where you start. We got a cool touchdown celebration. The officer's already on paid vacation for his action that day, so something wasn't done right. I mean, no, that's normal protocol. Anytime officers do worse shit than this. This is nothing. Nothing's. I feel 100% confident that nothing's going to happen to these officers for anything that was done here. I just don't see it. I don't see anything that was overtly over the top. Officers have done, I mean, come on now. We've witnessed officers do worse stuff like this and they get put on paid administrative leave. So, yeah, that's a traffic citation. That's it. No need to arrest him. I agree. It should have never, I agree with that point. It should have never escalated to what it escalated to. But I think that there's viable arguments for officer safety that caused them to have to get this guy originally out of the car. And, they're going to stand on that. At least I didn't know the officer was on paid vacation. Wow. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happened with any law enforcement. Unless it's something extremely egregious. And we have seen those happen where something happened in the police department, like, oh, we just fired that guy. But that's very rare. Normally, the protocol is going to be to put the person on administrative leave, and they're on administrative leave till an internal investigation is done. The internal investigation is going to be done to see if there was any finding or wrongdoing, which they will not find in this. And at the end of the day, you're going to see the Miami Dolphins and Tyreek Hill and local police department do some type of overt outreach effort to make this into an overall teachable moment for everybody involved. That's how that's how this situation is ultimately going to play out. I never get out of jail, right? That's how the situation is going to play out. But I agree. I generally, my son been in the car when I've been pulled over multiple times, and I just give him grief. And it was cool when I was like really deep into trial work at the local level, because I could remember being pulled over and a cop would stop me. Then they had like, I don't know what it was, but as the sergeant walked over, the sergeant was like, "Oh, my bad, counselor. They don't know who you are." And I was like, "Nah, it's all good, man." But everybody isn't going to get that privilege. Had that been anybody else, they could have been out of the ground on the pavement. Generally, I don't think it's smart I wouldn't recommend someone who's a non-attorney trying to play the I know my constitutional rights game. I just wouldn't go down that road. I tell my son, don't do what I do. If you're stopped by law enforcement, your job is to just comply to get home safely. And if they violate any of your rights, leave that for the attorneys to figure out and fight. I think that's normally the general advice I would give anyone. One situation, I was pulled over. I was coming from a movie theaters with my son. I was doing trial work, and this was early on. I was maybe year 2, so I know all the traffic shit at this time. Like now, I know all the major felony shit, but at this time, I knew all the traffic stuff like the back of my head. I'm coming from a movie theater with my son, and he's sleeping in the back seat because he was a little guy. He may have still been in like the little booster car seat. And as I see the cop pull me over, I'm in a left-hand only turn, a left-hand lane where you can only make a left. You can't do anything else. And as I make that turn, I see the lights getting lit up. And again, I was like in an ashy ass Kia or something like that. It was a terrible car. Cops pulled me over. Now, immediately, what do? I pull out my phone, I start recording, and I actually tap my son. I was like, hey, wake up. Like he was maybe like 5 or 6 or something. He was a little guy. But I was like, wake up. I'm telling him what's going on because I don't want to wake up and he see all this commotion. So I'm like, hey, I tap him, wake him up, tell him what's going on. And when I get pulled over, the cop came up to me and was like, oh, you know why I pulled you over? And my response was, because you don't have nothing better to do than to bother young black people. Don't ever say that, okay? But this is what my response was. He was like, no, actually, I pulled you over because you didn't turn on your turn signal to make that left turn. Now, again, he doesn't know that I'm an attorney at this point. Maybe he hasn't been in court long enough. And at this point, I'm in court literally every day, Monday through Friday, trials, 2, 3, 4, 5 trials per day on some crazy type shit. So I generally know most of the officers have had some interactions with them before. But this guy doesn't know I'm an officer. He tells me, oh, you were in this left turn lane. You didn't turn on your signal. I was like, I told him, I said, is that what you're going with? And he was like, yeah, but I gave him license registration. Of course, I ain't have anything outstanding. So he like write me a citation. I was like, damn, bro, you're not going to give me a warning. You're going to give me a citation? That's it. I was like, okay. Well, now I waited for him to expressly give me the citation because after he gave me the citation, I said to him, because local cops, state cops, sheriffs, they have a specific day where they go to court. So if Officer Friendly writes the ticket, he's going to write all of his tickets with a court date for maybe the 3rd Thursday because his day in court is the 3rd Thursday. If Officer Jackson writes a ticket, he may write all his tickets for the 4th Tuesday because his day in court is the 4th Tuesday. And so I waited for him to give me the ticket because, okay, you want to go there, you want to give me the ticket, you don't want to give me a warning. Once he gave me the ticket, I'd never seen this guy before. I'd never recognized him. I don't give a damn about remembering these guys' faces. Only the ones I have real trials with, like on some real shit, like a real trial, not no traffic shit. And so as he walks away, I said to him, I said, hey, is your court days Tuesdays or Thursdays? And I expressly said that because I wanted him to know that's not something that a normal civilian would say. Now, unbeknownst to him, I just gave him that. Now we get to court and we're there. And I see him because, you know, the attorney's in the back room working deals with the prosecutors and the officers who got these tickets on their court date are there. And I see him in the back. And at this time, like, now I've already talked to the prosecutor about it. I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know that you got an officer who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And I'm putting the word out in my office. If you have a case with this officer, give everything he says the utmost scrutiny because he doesn't know the law and he's clearly green. Scrutinize everything he says with a fine-tooth comb because we're going, hey, I'm going to use this as a teaching lesson for this officer. So the officer sees me. As soon as he sees me, he hauls ass back there, and he comes out as if he was doing me a favor. He came out and was like, hey, I talked to the prosecutor. We're going to work everything out. I was like, no, bro, I'm good. I talked to the prosecutor, and I know the law. Now, the law says, can you pull someone over in the place that I was in? Can you pull someone over for failing to use their blinker? The answer is yes, but there's an exception. If you're in a lane and it's a left turn only lane, because I don't have an option to either go left or go straight, I don't have to use a blinker. So because I was in a left turn only lane, I wasn't required. Now, if I was in a lane where you could turn left or potentially go straight, and I don't turn my blinker on, that's actually a situation where the officer can pull me over. But case law, and I knew the case law because I just fucking looked it up. Case law says if you're in a lane where you don't have to make a decision, it's go left only or go right only. You can't do anything else. You don't have to turn on your turn signal, and the officer can't use that as a justification to pull you over. So, but these aren't things a regular Joe citizen would know. So I generally advise people, hey, do what you got to do. Just comply. Keep everything visible. Keep everything. There's no need to have an attitude because your job at the end of the day is to go home. And if any of your rights get violated, that's a fight for the attorneys to make. It's not a fight for you to make. That was always my that was always my approach to everything. I also wrote the ticket live on video to a supervisor. He's the one. Okay, see now again now. Line is stupid. That's an actual additional nuance. Let me see. And that was, let me see. Bystanders did not impede the investigation of Tyreek. They only watched, parked illegally, and observed. It's arguable. I understand what you're saying, but the other side would argue, prosecutors would argue it was a full blown, you impeded the investigation. It's arguable. Every point that y'all making is arguable. That's what y'all missing. It ain't no, this is automatically the answer. Everything is a fucking gray area when it comes to this. Yeah. Of course, normally throw your case out when you violate them unless they're egregious. Yeah, I agree. That's fair. I see you on Wednesday. Yeah. The officer who wrote, shout out, hey, later. Let's see. The officer who wrote the ticket live on video to his supervisor. Now, that's just a dumbass. Because, yeah, that's just a dumbass. Yeah, he didn't, the one on leave for paid vacation. Hey, still ain't nothing going to happen to him. He's a dumbass for lying, too. I agree. Unfortunately, most people don't realize how dangerous the situation becomes when others insist on interfering, illegally parked out of car. Again, ridiculous. And you kind of looking at it from somebody with a law enforcement mindset and a law enforcement frame. I think there's arguments on both sides of the coin. But if someone said, give your opinion on, I think the facts lean more towards officer safety, in my personal opinion. Yeah. Costs too much unless you're your own attorney and know something about case law. No need to fight an $85 ticket for a $300 lawyer. Yeah. And I agree. And most times if you just get a ticket and you don't have no crazy ass driving record, most times they'll be like, oh, we'll reduce it to improper movement, or we'll reduce this 15-mile-an-hour ticket to a 9-mile-an-hour ticket. That way you don't get no points. Most times they're going to try to work with you. Yeah. That's what they count on. Yeah. But yo, I just wanted to jump on here and give my real quick take on this video. I saw everybody reacting to it, so I wanted to give an initial impression. Yo, I appreciate Justin, Luis, Pamela, everybody who chimed in. My guy Wolverine, I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate y'all when y'all provide insight, because y'all know, hey, your boy got a full-time job being a practitioner at law. So I'm not doing super deep dive. So I definitely appreciate y'all giving me a little bit of granularity on the things that I don't know, so I could give, better information on my legal opinion on these things. Yo, that's it. I'm out. Y'all have a good one. Be blessed. I might jump on later because I got some stuff that's a little bit ridiculous in the Henya side of the game, where she's spending a lot of money for C-level artists to perform at events where nobody show up. But that'll be a little bit later on tonight. Y'all take care. Be blessed. If you're watching on replay, check out the content on the screen. More attorney reactions and finance content. Peace.